What up, though? Boss of all bosses. And today I'm coming to tell all my supporters, if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever you got, you trying to make it go up, hit me right now.
They say loyalty is the rarest currency in the streets. Maybe that explains why, after years locked away, Big Meech came home to discover his once unbreakable alliances had turned fragile. He was a legend, the core of the Black Mafia family's mystique. And for a while, it seemed like his story would be immortalized in the safest pair of hands, 50 cents. But when whispers of different agendas started filling the air, Meech found himself in the middle of a power struggle he never saw coming.
I wasn't going to address this, because I'm not trying to let nobody trick me off the streets.
Ties that once felt solid began to crumble the moment Rick Ross entered the picture, offering pledges and promises of a new start. This was supposed to be a reunion of epic proportions, a triumphant return for the man behind BMF. Instead, rumors of betrayal, canceled concerts, and shocking accusations left everyone questioning where Meech's loyalties truly lay. This isn't just a story about rap beef or industry politics, it's about how quickly alliances can unravel when the spotlight gets too bright. And believe me, it's about to get messy. Big Meech's early rise wasn't just a tale of fast money and glamorous parties. It was a lesson in how influence can expand beyond the streets and into the heart of hip-hop culture.
He was convicted of running a huge criminal enterprise stretching from Atlanta to Detroit and several other states. The story of Big Meech, who headed up the Black Mafia Family, is also the source of a popular TV show that has been filmed right here in Atlanta.
Even before mainstream audiences caught wind of his name, certain circles already treated Meech like an icon. He had the pull, the resources, and the ambition to transform a small operation into an empire. Underground testimonies spoke of a charismatic figure who knew how to balance business with loyalty, for a time anyway. The Black Mafia family soared to legendary status, fueled by rumors of high-profile connections to major artists and that unstoppable sense of nobody can tell us what to do. The BMF brand was built on exclusivity, mystique, and an audacious approach to everything they touched. They allegedly ran clubs, partied with top-level celebrities, and had the kind of presence that demanded respect from anyone paying attention.
Big Meech and Rick Ross fires back at 50 Cent.
February 13th, the Big Meech home benefit concert.
It all felt larger than life, as if they existed on a plane separate from normal constraints. This mystique is what eventually piqued 50 Cent's interest. He saw a golden opportunity in BMF's story, something raw and intriguing enough to captivate an entire generation of viewers. For someone like Meech, locked away with a dream of preserving his legacy, having a mogul like 50 champion his narrative must have seemed like destiny. Here was an industry heavyweight who had the resources to tell BMF's story in a way that would reach millions.
You took a picture with Rick Ross. Put your back against the wall and just slide down.
A TV show, national conversation, and a way to keep his name alive, even while he was behind bars. For a while, it all felt like a match made in heaven. BMF gained mainstream exposure through a high-quality series, and 50's reputation as a skilled producer rose even higher. The synergy between the two men appeared unbreakable. Their partnership seemed grounded in mutual respect, or at least the outward performance of it. Meech was publicly grateful, and 50 appeared to bask in the unique storyline he was allowed to bring to life. Fans were thrilled too. The idea of seeing BMF's inner workings on screen had people glued to their televisions.
Yeah. So look, I do want to do a BMF film because you've been entertained by a lackluster, small budget.
Devouring each episode and speculating on social media about how closely these events mirrored the real story. But real life isn't a TV show, and behind the scenes, there was a gathering storm. Enter Rick Ross. At first, the dynamic looked harmless, just another major figure in hip-hop showing respect to a legendary name. Meech was out of prison and seeking new alliances, or at least expansions of existing ones. Maybe 50's influence felt overwhelming, or perhaps Meech wanted more control over how his brand was being used. Whatever the reason, Ross began to share the stage with Meech in subtle ways, promising that he too could add to the BMF legacy. Nobody thought much of it initially. After all, Rick Ross had his own brand of success, a lavish lifestyle, and the voice to hype any project he believed in.
It's gonna be iconic. Too many names to list, but let me salute some of the legends. Lil Baby, Boss Man D-Lo, 21 Savage,
Sexy Red.
It seemed plausible that the two might form a separate collaboration that would only elevate Meech's post-prison comeback. Yet alliances in the industry can be as fickle as the wind. It didn't take long before rumors spread that Ross wasn't there purely out of admiration. Some said he saw a chance to push 50 out of the picture by wooing Meech with money and attention. Others claimed that Meech himself reached out to Ross first, wanting a fresh perspective on how to propel the BMF name forward. Whichever side sparked the flame, the result was the same. 50 and Meech weren't on the same page anymore, and there was tension in the air. Of course, tension in hip-hop can be entertaining to watch.
Right, they don't even understand that you know, the way we grew up, you're supposed to spend no more than 10 or 20% of what you make.
But for Meech, fresh out of prison, trying to rebuild his life and reestablish his legacy, it wasn't just a matter of entertainment, it was personal. And it was about securing a new chapter for the BMF story. This was around the same time certain controversies started resurfacing. Whispers about Meech's early release had never really gone away. People spoke quietly about rumored deals with the feds, speculation that Meech might have cooperated in ways the public didn't fully understand. While 50 never explicitly came out and called him a snitch, he dropped enough hints on social media to make people raise eyebrows.
Being with him everywhere, seeing nice things all the time since I was born, so I always knew that he was doing something.
He'd say things like, "I hope everything's legit," or he'd reference questionable paperwork. He was too savvy to outright accuse, but he was more than happy to let the rumor mill run wild. And run wild it did. Suddenly, Meech was at the center of every kind of rumor imaginable. Did he really flip on old associates to secure an earlier release date? Who was Tammy Cowens, the individual rumored to hold the rights to Meech's life story, and was she cooperating with the authorities?
I'm sitting there analyzing it like, damn, wanted some bread, or maybe he spent all the bread because he made a couple of million with $5.
What role did Meech play in setting up an old friend known as Cuffy? It all sounded like the plot of a sensational drama, but real families were torn apart, and real reputations were at stake. While some folks defended Meech to the bitter end, others pointed to suspicious details, like how Cuffy ended up locked up after dealing with someone who was apparently wearing a wire, and how that same person was closely linked to Meech. What truly fanned the flames, however, was when Meech tried to step into the public eye, all ready to announce a massive welcome home event. This was supposed to be a testament to the BMF name and everything Meech stood for. Months of promotional teasers hinted that big names would grace the stage. Meech himself seemed confident this was his crowning return, a chance to show that the Black Mafia family was still relevant and unstoppable. But from the start, the venture felt shaky. Some people predicted trouble, claiming the lineup was too ambitious or that Meech's alliances weren't as solid as he believed. 50 Cent, for his part, only added fuel to the speculation, casually hinting that the event might not go as planned. Then, just hours before showtime, the entire thing fell apart. The official statement said unforeseen circumstances forced a cancellation, leaving disappointed fans stranded and infuriated. The fallout was swift. People started pointing fingers, and the name at the top of most accusations was 50 Cent. They said maybe he pulled strings behind the scenes to shut it down, all out of spite. But 50, in classic fashion, publicly denied having a hand in it. His denials so playfully sarcastic that you almost believed he was winking at the camera while typing them out. "I had nothing to do with this," he wrote. "Please stop calling my phone." Yet it was the timing, the wry tone, and the fact that he'd been predicting failure all along that made everyone suspect he'd orchestrated the fiasco just to watch Meech scramble.
And this week, after serving nearly 20 years in prison for racketeering, drug dealing, and running a criminal enterprise, he is out of prison.
But the story doesn't end there, because Lil Meech was also caught in the crossfire. While Big Meech served his time, 50 Cent had taken Lil Meech under his wing. He paid for acting classes, gave him a platform, and cast him in the BMF series, launching him from the shadow of his father's legacy straight into the Hollywood spotlight. For Lil Meech, it was a dream come true, traveling, acting, socializing with the stars, and carrying the BMF name with a sense of pride. He was 50's guy, the young representative who could move freely in the entertainment world and keep BMF's mystique alive for a new generation. Then came a series of questionable moves. Lil Meech found himself publicly defending his father's new alliance with Rick Ross, claiming Ross helped cover certain bills until the next season of BMF began. The same Rick Ross who was a sworn rival to 50, who had once sued him, dissed him in tracks, and traded endless jabs in interviews. It didn't look good. To outsiders, Lil Meech appeared disloyal, like a protege who forgot who actually built the stage he was standing on. Before long, 50 started posting screenshots of text messages where Lil Meech apologized, said he'd take the shirt off my back for 50, and admitted that F Roz, but he gave my dad some bread. The confusion was thick. Was Lil Meech really that torn between his father and 50? Or was he just trying to manage a bad situation while still showing gratitude to Ross for stepping in with financial help? Suddenly, Lil Meech wasn't the golden child of the BMF series anymore. He was a figure of controversy, stuck between paternal loyalty and professional gratitude. 50's response was brutal, mocking the entire situation and making it clear that he doesn't hold back when someone switches sides. And as if that weren't enough, the rumors started swirling that the BMF show, an ongoing success and one of 50's big achievements, might not continue past the next season. Could that be a negotiating tactic? Possibly. Or maybe 50 felt that the brand no longer served his vision if Meech himself was undermining it.
Demetrius Flannery and his brother, Terry, ran one of the country's largest drug operations during the late 80s, 90s, and early 2000s.
There were others in Meech's corner, of course, even as his public image took a hit. Young Buck, desperate for relevance, some would say, jumped into the conversation, telling folks to quit playing with dude. But that only gave 50 another chance to take potshots at him. The game also spoke up, mocking the entire fiasco in a roundabout way, almost turning it into a comedic spectacle. The more people tried to jump in and defend Meech, the more 50 reveled in the chaos. It became a feeding frenzy, a swirl of accusations, denials, and carefully worded statements that only fanned the flames of suspicion. What left many observers truly stunned was how quickly the father-son bond at the center of all this appeared to wither under the pressure. Big Meech's decision to pivot away from 50 and trust Rick Ross might have made sense in private, especially if there was money on the table to help with immediate bills. But from an outside perspective, it looked like Meech had cast aside the one person who gave his family a massive platform. Meanwhile, Lil Meech, who owed much of his new career to 50, felt obligated to back his father, but also couldn't deny the contributions 50 had made to his life. So the younger Meech tried to navigate an impossible line, praising both men in separate breaths, and inevitably finding himself forced to choose. Choose he did. He chose family, whether out of true loyalty or perceived obligation, and 50 took that as the ultimate betrayal. When the canceled concert fiasco happened, and when the rumors about snitching began swirling again, all the old tensions came rushing to the surface. The meltdown became public, with online posts, Instagram stories, and videos capturing each twist. As it stands, Lil Meech is no longer the rising star who had the unstoppable backing of one of hip-hop's biggest moguls. Instead, he's resorting to promoting side hustles and paid collaborations for small sums, reinforcing the narrative that 50 yanked the ladder right out from under him. Where does that leave the BMF brand? As of now, it's in limbo.
Now it's time to do a big budget film. Which director? Shout out to my homie F. Gary Gray, Antoine Foucault, what's up?
Without the unstoppable marketing engine of 50 and the established connections at premium networks, the show's future looks shaky. Big Meech, on the other hand, is free from prison, but arguably less free than ever, caught between a tarnished public image and the necessity of forging new alliances to stay afloat. And Rick Ross? He seems to be enjoying the spectacle from a comfortable distance, having briefly supported Meech financially, but not actively pushing forward any grand BMF collaboration. Did Ross win, or did he just stir enough trouble to keep 50 busy, then walk away with minimal effort? Some folks suspect that 50's chess-like approach includes letting everyone else set themselves on fire. When the concert got canceled, he hardly needed to lift a finger. His enemies did all the work. All he had to do was sit back, post some smug social media messages, and watch the meltdown unfold. That's classic 50. Let the drama escalate, and once it hits a boiling point, pour just a dash more fuel on the flames. Meanwhile, the rumors regarding Meech's early release remain unresolved, at least in the court of public opinion. The The figure of Tammy Cowens, alleged to have facilitated deals with the feds, continues to hover like a question mark over Meech's head. The Gatling family, tied to Cuffy, insists Meech had a hand in setting Cuffy up. Meech's defenders say it's all hearsay or a giant misunderstanding, perhaps orchestrated by those looking to profit off the downfall of BMF. But the dark possibility persists. Did Meech abandon old friends to cut his own sentence short, only to come home and find that loyalty in the street and the rap industry doesn't quite work the way it used to? At this point, the Black Mafia Family brand itself is overshadowed by these controversies. People don't talk about the BMF empire like they used to. They talk about canceled concerts, rumored deals with the feds, and the meltdown between Big Meech, Lil Meech, and 50 Cent. In a strange twist, 50 Cent's public jabs have arguably done more to keep BMF in the headlines than any legitimate achievements. Negative publicity is still publicity, but it's not the kind of legacy-building exposure Meech likely hoped for.
Ricky Rose now. This the first time it's ever been done. Me performing BMF with the icon himself.
So where do we go from here? The BMF saga might still have chapters left to be told. Perhaps Meech will attempt a brand reboot, maybe with Rick Ross or another investor stepping up to produce a film or a documentary that reasserts the true BMF story. Perhaps Lil Meech will reconcile with 50 once cooler heads prevail, though 50 is not exactly known for handing out easy second chances. A possible scenario is that Lil Meech finds another mentor or brand to help him continue his career, carving out a path that breaks away from the constant friction between his father and 50. If that happens, it'll mean effectively turning away from the entire legacy that got him here in the first place, which is a heavy decision. For Big Meech, the question remains whether he can restore trust with his original supporters. If the rumors about cooperation carry weight, or if insiders keep leaking more details, Meech might find that regaining his old status is impossible. The hip-hop community can be forgiving in some cases, but snitching allegations aren't something that fade quietly, even if evidence is incomplete or inconclusive. The most hardcore believers in the BMF myth might stand by Meech no matter what, but the rest of the world might already be convinced that the story they once revered is now irreparably tainted. In the face of all this turmoil, 50 Cent comes off as the man who saw the bigger picture from day one. He capitalized on the BMF story, boosted his own brand, and used the confrontation with Rick Ross as yet another platform to flaunt his flair for drama. People can call him petty, manipulative, or opportunistic, but they can't deny that he excels at turning controversy into currency. Whether 50 was genuinely hurt by Meech's shift in allegiance or simply found a new way to capitalize on the drama hardly matters. The effect is the same. He retains the upper hand, continuing to shape the narrative while others scramble for damage control. Which leads us back to a core theme: loyalty. For years, BMF preached loyalty as if it were the backbone of their operation. Meech showcased unwavering dedication to the brand and his people. At least that's what it looked like on the surface.
The pair had hundreds of employees, generated hundreds of millions of dollars, and even had a successful record label and magazine.
But once you scratch that surface, you uncover a world of whispered betrayals and behind-the-scenes deals. Maybe the brand was always destined to fracture once the big players got involved with conflicting goals. Or maybe Meech simply miscalculated, trusting promises from Rick Ross that never fully materialized, and failing to appreciate how much 50 had done to keep his name alive. Either way, the BMF empire doesn't look as glorious as it did in its heyday. Fans who remember the original mystique are watching with mixed emotions, some disappointed, some enthralled by the never-ending scandals, and others too jaded to care. Younger audiences who only discovered BMF through 50's show might be confused about which part of the story is real and which is sensationalism. And Lil Meech stands at a crossroads, uncertain whether he can salvage the relationships needed to move forward, or if he must go it alone, because the one man who had his back, 50, now seems done with the entire family. In the end, the biggest question is whether Big Meech can rebuild from the ruins of this chaotic chapter. Can he mend fences with 50, or is that door permanently slammed shut? Will Rick Ross re-emerge to truly support him, or was he always more interested in hurting 50 than helping Meech? And will the next generation of fans even care about BMF once the wave of sensational news has passed? We might not have immediate answers, but the conversation is far from over. Each new social media post, stray comment, or interview snippet has the potential to ignite another round of speculation and drama. Maybe that's the real legacy of BMF? The spectacle. For a man who once held the streets in the palm of his hand, Big Meech now faces the toughest audience of all, a public condition to devour controversy. If he wants to reclaim the BMF name in a way that truly honors what it once meant, he'll have to navigate these alliances with extreme care. Because in the modern age, reputations are built and broken by a single Instagram post or an abruptly canceled event. One slip, one rumor, and everything can come crashing down all over again. So remember this tale next time someone glorifies the loyalty of the streets. When real money, massive egos, and public platforms converge, the word loyalty can become just another bargaining chip. Big Meech, 50 Cent, Rick Ross, and Lil Meech all had parts to play in this Shakespearean drama, each with their own motives and cautionary lessons about trust. If nothing else, it's a masterclass in how quickly allegiances can disintegrate once personal gain collides with brotherhood. If you're still wondering whether Meech brought this on himself, or whether 50 was simply exposing something that was already there, you're not alone. Maybe both sides are right, maybe both sides are wrong. In these circles, truth can be as slippery as the next paycheck. But there's one thing we can all agree on. The BMF saga isn't done yet. More layers might unravel, more confessions might surface, and more players might emerge from the sidelines to stake their claims. Until then, keep your eyes open, your ears to the ground, and never forget that in a world governed by money and power, real loyalty comes at a steep price, and sometimes it's not for sale at any price.